Well, joining us now is political analyst Professor André Duvenhage. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. I don't know what your overall impression was, but it seemed in large part that the president was doing an appraisal of 30 years of democracy and less so a look back at the year that was.
Indeed, that is the case. When we look at his feedback, it is very comprehensive. It touched over the whole post-apartheid time, addressed the major challenges, reflecting on service delivery over that time, but not to the same extent at the last 6 months of government and governance in South Africa. He only mentioned that there are different views from different parties, but there are basic consensus about the main issues we need to tackle, issues like integrated growth, things like addressing the poverty issues, better service delivery, and so on. He didn't touch that much on the challenges the government of national unity is facing and what type of answers they provided in the past 6 months.
Well, hopefully he will deal with those specifics and what his government will aim to do in the next year in his State of the Nation address. But one would have thought that a comprehensive review of the year that was would have located whatever he's going to say in his State of the Nation address in a couple of months' time in a proper context. Would you say that perhaps he did an injustice even to how the government of national unity would have or seeks to achieve? I would have thought that an honest and open appraisal, notwithstanding, of course, the commitment he says partners in the GNU have made, perhaps a more thorough and open appraisal of the government of national unity, I would reckon, would have probably been a better proposition and would have captured, in my view, the South Africans a lot better than I think the generalized appraisal he did would actually do.
I agree with you completely. I think he could be a lot more focused, addressing the current challenges, but he instead opted for specifically focusing on the successes of the ANC government. He also, in a way, referring to the challenges with the illnesses as a result of the food poisoning in spaza shops. But generally speaking, he presented a very positive picture of South Africa. By no means he was specific with regard to the direct challenges, and I think there are a huge number of them. We must just look at what is going on in local government, the electricity prices, where they are going, lack of service delivery on many other levels, infrastructural maintenance. These are major issues in South Africa. But I understand that his perspective need to be assessed against the backdrop of major criticism within the broad church of the ANC, specifically the SACP, but also COSATU. There are also sentiments within the mother organization of the ANC against cooperation with, for example, the Democratic Alliance. So he preferred not to speak about these challenges and rather deflect this to the macro situation. It seems very much as a State of the Nation type of address and not a specific feedback about what happened throughout 2024, the ANC losing their majority. They are on 40%, and he just tried to align the current situation with what he referred to as the successes of the ANC government over 30 years.
Interestingly, I mean, his partner, or a most senior partner in the GNU, the Democratic Alliance, didn't spare him. MP S. Boshoff tore into his address heavily critical of the president and his approach, highlighting some of the issues that you have just mentioned, and so did the MK party as well. It was quite interesting for me.
Yeah, indeed, we must understand that the situation post the 2024 election is a complicated one. In one way, the ANC government is still dominant and in ways exclusive. If we look at their foreign policy proposals, the fact that they don't want that to be aligned with a foreign policy of a government of national unity, but a foreign policy aligned to the ANC alone. So in that sense, other parties are cooperating, but at the same time, they stay in opposition. So therefore, we have seen members of the DA, and we can expect the MK party to react strongly against the presentation. I won't say that the presentation is completely wrong, but in my assessment, it missed specific focus. The data and figures were very much generalized, and I think you will find competing figures that may give us another picture of the contemporary state of affairs in South Africa. So in that sense, we can expect criticism towards Ramaphosa, and I think he is battling to survive within his own party structures at the moment, and he followed the most safe option under circumstances.
Well, no surprises. The chief whip of, the whip of the ANC in the NCOP, as well as premiers of the Eastern Cape and the Northwest, came to his support and defense.
Yes, these are Mr. Ramaphosa's loyal basis of support. If you look at the Northern Cape, for example, the Northwest, the Eastern Cape, and to a certain extent the Limpopo province, this was his support base during the 2024 election. It was quite different in the Western Cape, in KZN, and even in the Gauteng province. In that sense, we expect these groups to support him. I also know that he has strong relationships with these specific provinces you refer to. So there's no doubt there is support for Mr. Ramaphosa, but there's also criticism and critique against what he is doing, when he is doing it, and the way he is reacting to major issues.
Professor Duvenhage, let me thank you very much for your time and your insights. Prof, of course, looking back at that speech and of the annual address by the President to the National Council of Provinces, and of course the debate that ensued and which is still, of course, ongoing.